We'll start the class with 3 ohms. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanao Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Viddhishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are in this Drg Drishya Viveka text, which is our third text in our spiritual study as per the scriptures. The first text we have taken is Tattva Bodha, the very basic text which everyone must know before entering the field of spirituality. The second text which we covered was Atma Bodha, which is a broad guideline as to what the core personality of our is, which is called as Atma. This third text is also part and parcel of the preliminary texts when we study the spiritual science. Drg Drishya Viveka goes a little bit deeper into the topic of Atma. Today's verses are very deep verses, so you'll realize how deep we are going to go compared to Tattva Bodha and Atma Bodha. When we go deeper into the subject, then we realize our core nature. So the spiritual science is a science where we go deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper into our own self, into our own mind, into our own intellect. It is not a science looking at the world outside. It is a science looking at the world inside us. The science which deals with the world outside, we all are aware of it. We have studied in schools. But this is an internal science. And it's a different way of approach. You will see that today in the verses which we do, how we try to go deeper and deeper into our own personality. So throughout the spiritual study, we must be very clear that we are trying to go deeper into our own personality, deeper into our own mind, and understanding who am I. This broad guideline we must always maintain, that I'm trying to study what is my real nature. If you miss this portion, then you will not understand, you will not know where we are going. So after Drg Drishya Viveka, we'll be doing Bhagavad Gita, then the Upanishads, and the last portion is Vichara Sagara. That's all. With that, we complete the entire spiritual science. After that, it is just our own introspection. So this is how the progress is in the field of our study. Coming to Drg Drishya Viveka, we have studied what this text is all about, and we said there are 46 verses in this text, which is written by Swami Vidyaranya, one of the teachers of the Shankaracharya school of thought. He has written this book so that students can understand how to look at ourselves. The two texts, Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads, will teach us in a totally different way. But this preliminary text is like a preparation to understand the Bhagavad Gita and to understand the Upanishads, which are the real source of knowledge regarding Atma. This text of 46 verses consists of 5 topics. 1 to 5 is the 3 types of seers. We have said there are 3 seers. When I look at myself, the observing principle, the first observing principle are our sense organs. Eyes, ears, the skin, the tongue. These sense organs, they bring the stimuli from the outside world to my mind. So the first layer of seeing or hearing is done by the sense organs. Touching, feeling, tasting, these are all the sense organs which are the functions. Then the second layer, when we go behind the sense organs, is the mind. That's the second seer. And the third seer we have seen so far is the consciousness, the Sakshi. This Sakshi, the consciousness, is the hero of this entire study, is the central theme of this entire text. We'll be studying what is this Sakshi, how can I realize this Sakshi, why I'm not able to realize the Sakshi. All that we will study in the other topics. The second topic, which we have almost finished, we have done up to 11th verse, is how are these seers formed and how do they function. We have gone up to the 11th verse. Today we will see the 12th verse. Then we will do this. Today we will be focusing on the third topic, which is the main part of the whole text. This goes on from verse number 13 to 21. And then the fourth topic, as I explained to you previously, is there is a meditation portion and there is a summary of this entire study. So with this short introduction, let's go and look at our main verse, which is the 12th verse for us to study. The 12th verse is a conclusion verse regarding the function of the 3 seers. What does it say here? It says that one insentient subtle body. So very important point is, it is not the subtle body, which is called as, which consists of 17 organs or aspects, does not have sentiency, does not know itself. It is as good as a desk or a wall, the sentient body. We are talking about the Sharira. The mind by itself does not know. This is what the scriptures teach us. So the insentient subtle body is constituted of the mind and ego and goes through the 3 states. It is born and it dies. So what happens to the mind? Here they are focusing purely on the mind aspect. The subtle body consists of the 5 jnana indriyas, 5 karma indriyas, that means the organs of knowledge, organs of action, the 5 pranas, and then the mind and the intellect. Here in this verse, the author focuses on the mind, the ego, the mind and ego, which is the intellect. Now, the mind, the body, of course, we all know it is born and it dies. Together with the body is this mind. What happens to the mind? The mind leaves this body, and then we say it's a death of the body. It takes another body. So what happens is the subtle body travels to the next body. And what is the function of the subtle body? When it is in the gross body, it goes through the three states of experiences. This subtle body is also called as lingam. Sukshma Shariram is called as lingam. Lingam means it is an indicator of the life principle in this body. The moment the lingam leaves, that means the body, we know that it is just made up of 5 elements, and it can be burnt, it can be buried, we can do what we want with it, but the jiva has left. That's what it means. Lingam means it is an indicator. It's a technical word. It is a part of the bigger visible body. Now, this jadam, this body, the subtle body by itself is jadam by nature, but it can borrow sentiency. It can borrow consciousness. Therefore, it appears to be sentient. Sentient means what? I know, I can hear, I can speak, I can talk, I can run, I can walk. This walking power, the speaking power, the knowing power, the desiring power, the knowledge portion, all this is basically the powers. So that, but in order to understand what the subtle body is, it is like the it is a power. It is the power behind the physical body. This aim of this 12th verse is to say, instead of saying mind goes through the 3 states, the author says here the subtle body goes through the 3 states. In the waking, what are the 3 states? In the waking state, it is the waking mind which experiences the waking world. Then in this dream state, it is only the mind which is operational along with the Chaitanyam. The Chaitanyam is always there. Sakshi is always there. So what is happening in the 3 states is it belongs to the mind only. In the sleep state, the mind itself goes into a passive condition. That state we are going to study more in detail in the following verses. The subtle body and consciousness survive death of the physical body. The subtle body continues in the next birth. Shraddham, Tarpanam, after the death, rites are for the subtle body. That means whatever prayers which we do, in all religions we have prayers for the departed soul. And when we pray, we pray to the subtle body of the jiva. The gross body is not, it is already burnt, or it is already buried, or it goes back into the universe of 5 elements. The wise claim Aham Brahmasmi, I am pure consciousness which is not affected by time and never travels and ever exists. So this is the difference between a person who has the knowledge that he is that pure consciousness which doesn't travel, which is always existing, and which is timeless. It is timeless, therefore we can say it is immortal. So Vedanta is what? Vedanta is shifting the eye from seer number 1, which is the sense organs, seer number 2, which is the mind, to the seer number 3. That means I try to shift my attention from the sense or from the world outside and say drop the world first because that is not me. Then the sense organs which are perceiving the world, again I say the sense organs are not me. It is only a gross eye. It's a gross part of the physical body. Then I say I am not the mind. This is the difficult part because we are going deeper and deeper into our own self. But how do we do that? We will study that slowly. It is this, in different texts, in different levels, we will study how to drop the identification with the mind. In Bhaja Govindam is a text written by Shankaracharya, and it's taken up as one of the preliminary texts. And in that he says, this text is generally taken for you to have dispassion from the world. It has got many verses which will teach us why we should not be so much bothered about our interactions with the world, because they lead us to nowhere. Apart from leading a life where we need to earn some money and we need to maintain the body, apart from that, the world has got no other significance. The real significance of our birth, according to Bhaja Govindam, it says is know the Atma. Our purpose of being born in this body is to realize our nature. In this 21st verse of the Bhaja Govindam, it says, again birth, again death, again lying in mother's womb. This samsara, this process is a very hard to cross over. Therefore, come to this knowledge. That's what in the Bhaja Govindam, the Shankaracharya, he tells the student, he says, don't waste your time behind the world. Learn, come to this knowledge, come to this pure knowledge of who you are. So the Sukshma Shariram travels in waking, dreams, deep sleep, and then again birth, death, again birth, death. That's all. This is how the travel of a jiva, a travel of a soul is. The soul is the one who goes from waking to dream to sleep, again waking, dream, sleep, again waking, dream, sleep. This is how the transactions happen in our life. This is not under our control. There is a controller of this whole universe who is the Lord. He has designed this universe for the soul, for the jiva to come, live, depart. This is a broad way in which we need to see the overall scheme of things in the universe. Now, before we go to the next verse, which is going to be the main topic from verse number 13 to 21, I will just give you a little bit of introduction to how this particular science of Vedanta sees creation and how this entire topic is developed from now on till 21st verse. To understand that, let me just give you a little bit of introduction. The first thing we should understand about creation is that according to Vedanta, creation is only a manifestation. It is not an actual creation itself. Manifestation and unmanifestation, this is what is actually creation. For example, we say there is a clay and there is a pot. Now, what is pot? Pot is nothing else but clay in a different form. Therefore, pot was existing in clay. It manifests out of clay, and then it goes to unmanifest condition in clay. If you have understood the name, this example of a clay and a pot, or a gold and an ornament, wood and furniture, you apply the same principle and say that consciousness is the cause and world is the effect. And what is the world? A world is nothing else, but it's just a name, form, and function given to objects in the world. And the real substance behind the world is consciousness. This is the first thing we should understand. Now, where does this shape come from? It is there in potential form, in unmanifest form. That means the body The gross body is there always, but then it comes to manifestation and then it goes back into unmanifest. Similarly, our dream state, waking state, the base sleep state, these are all manifestation, unmanifestation happening in the material world. So that is lesson number 1. Creation means manifestation and unmanifestation. The second lesson we should understand is that substance plus unmanifest form is karanam. Karanam means cause. So anything which is in the case of say pot itself, the clay, which is the substance, plus the unmanifest form is the cause. Is the cause of what? Is the cause of pot. And the same clay with manifestation of the form is called as karyam, is called as product. So effect is a product. The cause is the substance. This is all we should understand in this particular second lesson. In science, they take the 5 elements as the entire cause of the universe. But in Vedanta, we do not take the 5 elements as the basic cause of the universe, but we take consciousness, or this principle called as Sat Chit Ananda or Atma, as the basic substratum of this universe. Very important point. This is the difference between subjective science and objective science. So objective science deals with the 5 elements, and then it also says consciousness is a part of the brain. Whereas Vedanta looks at consciousness as the substratum of the whole world itself. So where does this name, form, and action come? We said the world is name, form, and action. It's got nothing except the name, form, and action. This comes from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In the first chapter, it says that this universe consists of 3 things: name, form, and action. Generally in Vedanta, we always quote, for any principle which Vedanta takes, we always quote a Shruti Pramanam. That means we always quote the source of knowledge of the principles which we use in Vedanta from the Upanishads. That is the general way in which teaching is done. Okay. The next point so this is what we have seen. Universe is Brahman. Brahman, you always can substitute Brahman with consciousness or awareness. So awareness principle is itself coming in with name, form, and function. Like the gold itself is coming as bangle for a hand, chain for a neck. Similarly, the whole world is coming in different forms and functions. Before creation, we call it karanam, cause. After creation, we call it as karyam, the effect. So this also we have seen that consciousness plus this unmanifest form is the cause. Consciousness plus the manifested form is the effect. What we see as the world, every day we wake up and we see the world. When we see the world, we should understand it is consciousness plus name, form, and function. That is how the teaching is. Consciousness is always there, but the name, form, and function keep on changing. The changing aspect of the world is called as name, form, and function. The difference between you and me and another person is our name is different, our forms are different, and then we function different way. But what is common element between you, me, and others is consciousness. And in this consciousness, all the names, forms, and functions, they manifest and then unmanifest. This process of manifestation and unmanifestation is called as Maya. This is a very important point we should always remember when we learn the spiritual science, especially Vedanta, that there is consciousness and there is Maya. Maya means it is a power which is there in the world. It is the same power which is there in this body, in my body also. There is a power which is responsible for all what we experience in life. We'll see more details of the power now as we go deeper and deeper. So this we have seen, Vyakta means manifested, name and form, is called as Jagat. Like the sun is an effect, the father is the cause. Karanam is the cause, and the son or daughter is the effect. Now, the third lesson. So we have seen 2 lessons so far. The third lesson is Brahman continues to be there all the time, without transformation, during creation, sustenance, and resolution. Again, a very important principle. This is explained very clearly in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 8, the 18th verse. What it says is consciousness always continues eternally. And that is what we are actually. We don't know that, and the teaching is telling us consciousness is our real nature. In this verse, very clearly it says, from the unmanifest, all the manifest proceed in the coming of the day. That means from the unmanifest condition in our sleep state, the whole waking state comes up. And then what happens? At the coming of night, this whole waking manifest state, they dissolve into that alone, to that Karana Shariram alone, to that unmanifest condition alone. So the 3 Sharirams which we have studied before in Tattvabodha, gross body, subtle body, causal body. Causal body is what we are now looking in this verse, in the Gita verse. It says, causal body means Karana Shariram, cause, and this is the seed state. We call it the seed state because from this sleep state, which is the seed state, comes the waking and the dream. Very important point to understand when we understand the whole picture of how the world is. Conversion of Avyakta Nama Rupa, that means from unmanifest to manifest, is called as creation. Conversion of manifest to unmanifest condition is called as pralayam, or it's called as layam. When it comes to the individual, we say it's layam. Layam means sleep. When it comes to the whole universe also goes into unmanifest condition, not today or tomorrow, maybe after millions of years. This is what the scriptures tell us, that the whole universe also goes to an unmanifest condition. And then the next creation starts. Again, the manifestation comes. Again, the unmanifestation comes. So 2 Shaktis are located in this consciousness. The Shakti is always located in some person. You see, we cannot have a walking power separately, independently. So similarly, therefore, we say that the power of creation has to lie with someone. And that someone is called as Ishwara, or we can call it Brahman, we can call it God, we can call it by any name. But this is how we try to understand the world. So speaking power, running power, hearing power are all always on some person. Maya Shakti, that means this power, which is called as Maya, that means the power of manifestation and unmanifestation, exists in an entity which is called as Brahman. And this Shakti depends on that on that entity called as Brahman. We can call, like I said, we can call it, this Shakti depends on that awareness principle. There is no creation without this Shakti, without this power. Now, let's go a little bit more deeper and understand what is this power. Now, this power is in the creator. It is also in the individual. In the individual, when that power exists, that power is called as the Nidra Shakti. I will explain that a little later in the next slide. In this slide, broadly, this Shakti or power has got two types of, two aspects. One is a covering aspect. That means it covers the real nature of consciousness, awareness principle. It covers it. It is the power which is there, which covers it. And then the second power is what? Once it conceals this pure consciousness, that when the concealing is done, that is called as ignorance. It is called as Maya Shakti. It is called as Ajnanam. These are all different words, but try to understand the principle. Principle is what? I am actually pure awareness principle, but I am covered by this Shakti. This covering is called as Maya. And then what happens? Because of this covering, this power projects the waking world, projects the dream world, and then goes back into unmanifest condition in the sleep. Again it projects, again it unmanifests. This is what is the cycle going on in the world according to the scriptures. Now there are two entities in this universe. One is called as Ishwara, another is called as Jiva. What is the difference between the Ishwara and Jiva? Jiva means like people like us, we are all the individual souls. In the case of individuals, both the powers are functioning. Both Vikshepa Shakti and Avarna Shakti, both are functioning in us. Whereas in the Lord or the Creator, only the Vikshepa Shakti is functioning, but not the Avarna Shakti. That means the Lord knows his nature completely because he doesn't have any covering. He has only the power of creating the world as per the prarabdha of the different individuals, as per the different karma shareers. Whereas people like us, we have both these problems. We in our waking state, we don't know that we are that real Atma. We are that pure consciousness. In the dream state, obviously we'll never know. In the sleep state also, it is an ignorant state, we don't know. So therefore, as individuals, we have both these problems. One is our real nature is covered as pure consciousness, pure Atma, which can be without the three states, it can be without the three bodies, and it can be without the five koshas. This is what we studied in the Atma-bodha itself. There itself, we did study the Maya Shakti also in Tattva-bodha. But in this Drg Drishya Viveka, we are studying a little bit more deeper. What is this Shakti? What does it do? Now, once manifestation of Jiva Jagat happens, Avarna Shakti of Maya is fully active. Every Jiva is ignorance of the basic truth that he is the pure consciousness principle which can exist, which is always there. This is the very, very strong power of this Maya Shakti. It covers our real nature. Our real nature is intrinsically pure awareness or Brahman. And incidentally, it is with this name and form. That means I am Jacqueline, I am Ramesh, I am Suvarna. This, when I say I am so and so, it refers to a name, form, function. It refers to this gross body. it does not refer to the consciousness. This is the problem. This is the covering, which is the covering of that particular power. Now, this fact, I don't know that I am being covered. I means what? I, the awareness principle, am appearing like this body, and then after some time I take another body. After some experiences, I take another body. If I know that I am the pure consciousness principle, which can exist independently without the three states, then I have this knowledge that I am this pure Atma. That is what the Upanishads, that is what all the texts are trying to help us reach this state of Atma. Without the hindrance of this power. And the Maya Shakti really means it functions in ourselves as the mind. It is, our mind is basically the Maya Shakti. All our minds, I mean your mind, my mind, our mind is what? It keeps on projecting so many things. Projecting means what? It will think about so many different aspects in the life, and you can see this projection, this Vikshepa Shakti of the mind, but with reference to all the thoughts which come to us. And sorrow or samsara, the main cause of that is I don't know this Atma, Ajnanam. I think I am mortal, but actually I am this immortal Atma, immortal consciousness principle. So the remedy is what is being said from verse number 13 to 21. It is teaching us what are these two powers, how do they impact us, and how we can come out of this wheeling power and projecting power of Maya. So with this introduction, now we will be going into the third topic, which starts from 13 to 21, which is the essence of this whole Drg Drishya Viveka. Drik means observer, consciousness. Drishyam means the whole Jagat, all the experiences which we experience, which we have in this world. The waking world experiences, the dream world experiences, and the ignorance experience which we have in sleep. All three put together is called as, they use the word Drishyam, seen. And what is Drik? Drik means seer. This seer means it is the consciousness principle, not the seer mind, not the seer sense organs. So we have seen that the samsara karanam is a cause of the human bondage, and the parihara, that means the remedy, is the knowledge. In the 13th verse, they say that Maya has got two powers. The projecting power, which creates the world, beginning from the subtle body to the total universe. The first power of Maya is being explained in this verse. So Brahman is the pure consciousness, Satchidananda, and ignorance is caused by wheeling power. And then the second power is the Vikshepa Shakti, which is the projection of all the three things. That is Jiva, Jagat, Ishwara. All three aspects is a projecting power of this pure awareness principle. And what is the covering portion? Avarna Shakti. Avarna Shakti means it does not operate at cosmic level, because at the cosmic level, the Lord knows that he is that Brahman. It operates at the individual level. How does it operate? It operates at the individual level by all the projections of our mind. So Maya's Vikshepa Shakti becomes operational at time of creation, and Maya is the name of unmanifest name and form which exist in Brahman before evolution of the whole world. Universe has also the waking and sleep depending on the universe's prarabdha. That means there are different, the whole universe as such, like I said, it goes into manifest and unmanifest conditions depending on the jivas. Again, once this whole process is finished, again a new set of jivas will come in the next creation. Principle at micro and macro level is the same. In the micro level is the sleep state. And in sleep state, the sleep can happen to an individual. It is like I told you before, it's called as laya. And when it happens at the cosmic level, it is called as pralaya. All the lokas, that means all the fields of experiences, there are, according to scripture, there are 14 worlds. And all are made up of 5 elements only. But they come into manifestation and they go into unmanifestation. And the substance behind this whole creation is this pure awareness principle. When I look at myself, I am a mixture of Sakshi, that is the seer number 3, mind, which is seer number 2, and the eyes, ears, tongue, skin. These are all the, and the nose, these are all the sense organs, which are the seer number 1. Now, seer number 3 is, we have to differentiate the 3 seers. We have seen that this seer number 3 is consciousness, awareness. It is avyavaharyam. Avyavaharyam means what? It is never in transactions. It never participates in transactions. Like when I say I am doing something, I'm learning something, it is not, this consciousness, awareness is a silent spectator. In its presence, everything is going on, like the sunlight. In its presence, the whole world is active. Now, this is called as the higher nature of mind. And what is my lower nature? My lower nature is the mind and the body. The body and mind are useful for transactions, but they are not the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is this pure awareness. I must have this knowledge, then I will have no sorrow in life. Because then I know that I'm a silent spectator of this entire transactions which happen at the body and mind level. At the highest level only we can say this. Only after I have become a jnani, after I become a wise person, understanding the scriptures, I can say that I am that pure consciousness, real, and this unmanifest name and form and manifested name and form is unreal. So Bhagwan's Vikshepa Shakti at the time of Srishti throws out the entire universe and the individual's subtle bodies. And then what happens at the individual level? At the individual level, we all see dreams. So our Shakti is what? Our power is to see dreams. Whereas the Lord's power is to see the entire universe, create the entire universe and then dissolve it. Our power is what? To create the dream universe and dissolve it and then be in the waking state. But then we are trying to go to the level of Bhagwan. When I merge with Bhagwan, or when I merge with the Lord, when I merge with that one singular principle which exists in the universe, then what will happen is I will say this entire universe is nothing. I will take the role of that Lord and say, as per the Lord is creating this universe, I also had this individual power of projecting power. At the individual level, the Avarna Shakti covers what? It covers the Viveka. This wheeling power for me is seen or experienced when I am in dream state. In the dream state, what happens? The wheeling power covers the Viveka. And then the projection is done of the dream. what the Lord says is, the same process is happening actually in waking also. Compared to the Atma, my waking nature is covered, my nature of Atma is covered, and then I am in the waking state. So I am trying to realize what is my nature without the projecting power of that creator. So that is said in the next verse now. The same powers are going to continue for a few verses. So once you know the projecting power and the covering power, then you can understand all these verses very easily. The 14th verse says, creation is the manifestation of names and forms in the reality. In the reality means in the awareness principle, consciousness principle. Like what? Like foam in ocean. The whole creation is compared to a foam in an ocean or a wave in an ocean. So in the ocean, what happens? There is a wave created because of the wind. Because of the wind, you can see a lot of waves in the ocean. Then what happens? There is a temporary phenomena of a particular form. Sometimes you get very high tide, sometimes you get a small tide, sometimes the waves are very big. If you go to the beach, you can see this. All the waves are due to the wind which is causing it. In the creation, what happens? The wind is called as prarabdha. It is the wind of the creation is the Vikshepa Shakti of Maya. That projecting power is the creation, is the in the reality, which in the case of wave, it was the ocean. In the case of the whole world, in the case of this, all the three states of consciousness, the reality like the ocean is compared to the awareness principle. So that is what is trying in this particular verse. The author is trying to compare the wave and the ocean to the creation and the consciousness or awareness. When we say Sat Chit Ananda, sometimes we take Ananda as the emotion in the mind, like we have happiness. Sometimes it is taken as Ananta. Ananta means it's limitless, it's infinite. This Avarna Shakti covers the distinction between Satyam and Mithya. That means because of this covering, I am not able to realize that I am independently existing pure consciousness. And this world is an appearance. It comes and goes like the dream. The waking world is also like the dream. So how does this happen? Like it's an example given in the Shastra itself. Like we take green chili and green beans. Suppose you cut both of them and keep it in a pot. Sometimes we may take the green chili and put it in for cooking instead of green beans. So similarly, the same thing happens between Satya and Mithya. So we are not able to discriminate what is the reality and what is the appearance. And the two levels of Avarna Shakti that's covering is at the internal level, it is the sleep state. It is called as Nidra Shakti, the sleep, the power of sleep, which operates in the mind, and then we throw out their dream. And then what happens is the same waker who went to sleep, because of that sleep power, the sleeping power, he becomes the waker himself becomes the dreamer. The waker himself becomes the dream world. All the projections in the dream, objects and things and beings, the whole universe in the dream world is all creation of the human mind. Now, same thing happens into the pure consciousness. The pure consciousness uses the total mind to create this whole universe. When we say total mind, it means Ishwara. The same power, that means Brahman, pure consciousness, plus the power of Maya Shakti is called as Ishwara, the Lord. Brahman or Ishwara minus the power becomes Brahman, pure consciousness. This is how we should understand the definition of Ishwara and Brahman. So the Avarna Shakti covers the waker and the dream becomes a problem. So all of us, we say we have a big problem in our dream. Because of what? Because our nature of waking is covered. The moment I become a waker, I wake up to my nature of the waking state, the whole dream collapses. So similarly, when I wake up to this higher level of consciousness, awareness principle, this entire waking world collapses like the dream world. Collapses means what? The existence part of it is taken out from the world. I am that pure existence principle, pure consciousness principle. Like I take out, the waker takes out the existence portion from the dream world when he becomes the waker. Similarly, the existence principle goes back to Atma, and then the waking world loses its significance. In the 15th verse, the wheeling power is talked about. The focus here is on the wheeling power. Here, what does it say? It says the wheeling power, the distinction between the seer and seen within and the reality and the creation outside is lost. Therefore, we experience sorrow in life. So this Avarna Shakti is got, it has got two functions. One is inside, one is outside. Inside the body, outside the body. What happens inside the body? What happens is this subject-object clarity is not there inside. That means I don't know my mind. I think I am the mind itself. That is what is happening inside. Actually, the Drik is the Sakshi. Mind is the Drishyam. But they are taken as one. I become one with the mind and I say, I am sorrowful. I am angry. I am passionate. I am having a lot of problems in the world. But then actually, I'm referring to the mind only. Then what happens to the outside world? Outside world, actually there is a Sakshi and there is a world outside. But this difference between Sakshi and the outside world, is there, and this is not this aspect is what is called as easiness in the world. The easiness in the world, okay, I'll explain to you when it comes in the next verse. Here we say that Avarna Shakti covers the difference between Atma and Anatma. I don't know myself, I mistake myself as the mind. So the confusion at the internal level is that I am the changeless consciousness. The mind is changing, observed. Observer never changes. So even in meditation, this is what we have to really understand. In meditation, what happens is, I am the awareness principle, changeless principle, consciousness. We claim that. In every meditation session of mine, you will see that this is what the Drik. We are claiming the Drik, the observer, Sakshi, consciousness, awareness. And then what we are saying, I am not the Drishyam, I am not the mind with the thoughts which are there. Thoughts may come and go. Why do they come and go? Because of the Maya Shakti. That Shakti is there in this body. It is Shakti is there in the whole universe. Therefore, the mind is projecting. It will remember so many things in life. It will project a future. Then it will analyze the past. All this is nothing but Maya. So that is Drishyam. And that is the confusion which we have. If we are able to sort this out, then we are free from sorrow. We are free from samsara. We are free and we claim our original nature. See, we are not going to experience anything new as such. We are only claiming I am the consciousness principle. All our study in spirituality is only this. The moment I am able to differentiate Atma and Anatma, and I claim myself to be the Atma, that is the end of the spiritual study. What happens at the external level? We think that the world has got happiness. We think that the world has got security. If I have a great house, I am secure. Of course, yes, it is true to some extent, but it is not the ultimate truth. What it says, what Vedanta says is that pure consciousness is the real security for us. We can depend on it throughout our life. Satchidananda Swarupam, this Atma, I can depend on it. That is Satyam. It is always there in the past. It is there before the birth of the body. It is there now. It will be there after the death of the body. The body world will come and go. Manifest and manifestation. Now we know that. So therefore, this confusion at the external level has to be solved. Once I solve this internal and external confusion, then I'm a free Jivan Mukta. The 16th verse, we'll take one more verse and then we'll stop for the day. Let me see how many pages this is. This is a long verse, but let me see if I can. Okay, we'll try. We'll give it an attempt. The subtle body is in close proximity to the witness and identified with the gross body. Due to the inflection, reflected consciousness shines and becomes the individual. Now here is where the definition of Jiva starts. Who is a Jiva? Jiva is of two types. If Jiva means the transactional entity, Vyavaharika level, and there is a Jiva which is at a Paramarthika level. Paramarthika level means what? I am the consciousness is the highest. That is my correct identification. But here we are talking about being a witness is the correct identification. But now confusion arises because the mind and the body are very close to this Sakshi, this awareness principle. Therefore, we take the subtle body as our real self. That is what is said in this verse. At the internal level, what happens is, I am the Sakshi, I am the awareness principle, I am the Purnaha, ever secure. I don't need anything in life. I means here the consciousness, awareness. At the external level, it is, I am I can have support only from the form of Satchidananda. That means instead of the world depending on the world, if the reality is that if I depend on the Atma, I'm attached to the truth. But instead of depending on the Atma, I am a Jiva. I depend on the world outside and I expect the world to support me. The people, position, everything, I try to get support and I depend on them. See, we all depend on the universe, on the external universe, there's no doubt, for our sustenance. As a Jiva, we are all dependent on the world, but we must know what is up to what level I can depend. For what can we depend? For the maintenance of the body, for the living, yes, we have to depend on the external world. But what it says is at the spiritual level, when it comes to trying to ask who am I, at that time don't try to depend on the external world or the mind, but ask the question and come to the right answer, which is Sakshi. I am Sakshi Chaitanyam. In front of me is this Sukshma Sharira, which is the mind. That is the correct way of looking at the mind as well as the external world. Body-mind pair is subject to time, space, and prarabdha. Why is this world there? It is because of prarabdha karma, which I have explained in the Tattva Bodha. The changes in the body, like the headache or stomach pain, these are all physical. Emotions, they affect the physical body. If it is emotions, they will affect the mind. Hormonal changes, chemical changes, they affect the body and mind. Mind is subject to body's conditions, body is subject to time, space, and prarabdha. And all this is happening at a Vyavaharika level. Vyavaharika level means at the transactional field only. It does not affect the Atma. We have seen the entire the waking and dream, they go into manifest and unmanifest. But all this is enlivened by the Sakshi. Like the electricity is enlivened, the bulb is enlivened by the electricity. Similarly, the body, mind is ultimately under the control of the consciousness. The 3 levels of consciousness, I think I will take this up in the next class, because this requires a little bit more explanation. So I will continue with this chart in the next verse, in the next Saturday class. And then we will see how the nature of these 3 seers, Sakshi, mind, and sense organs, how do they affect the Jiva. This is an important portion, so I don't want to rush it. Let me take it a little slowly next week. Okay,